Let me first say, I love today's gospel. The story of the shepherd searching out the lost sheep is wonderful and has lent itself to all manner of gorgeous pieces of artwork throughout the centuries. But at the same time, it is a metaphor that works best in a pastoral or agrarian economy, such as ancient Judea and Galilee. And it makes the most sense when one's heroes and ancestors were shepherds, such as Abraham, Jacob, Moses, and David. I don't know about you, but I have never had a sheep to lose. The woman and her coin is a bit more relatable. But for me, there are four items that no matter how many times my husband tells me to always put in the same place so that I can find them, seem to go missing at the worst time. My keys, my phone, my wallet, and my glasses. Without all four of these items, I am not going to be able to get very far in my day. And as soon as I find any one of them missing, I immediately stop doing anything else and start searching. Now, with my glasses, the searching is especially difficult because I can barely see without my glasses. And I must first find a spare to even begin to look for the regular pair. With the phone, I might get lucky and left it on full volume to ring. But usually, when I lose it, it is on silent or vibrate. With the wallet, my mind starts racing. Do I need to put on hold all of my debit and credit cards? What do I do without my driver's license? Have I updated my prescription and healthcare cards with the right folks yet? The keys. Did I leave them in a lock? Can someone now get into secure locations that I was entrusted with the keys to? Is my car going to be stolen? Is my house safe? Regardless of the item, my heart and mind start racing. Where did I last see them? When did I last have them? How could I be so absent-minded? And then I find them, dropped behind something or at the last place I was sitting or on the floor, and the relief that sweeps over me is amazing. I barely notice any of these items until they are gone. But when they return, I want to celebrate and share my good news with the whole world. I had a similar experience when working on a puzzle. Getting to the end and finding a single piece is missing. I don't know about you, but I don't exactly count every piece when I start a puzzle. I just dump it out, start flipping and sorting pieces, and assume that all the pieces are there. So when I get to the end and a piece is missing, I assume it is there somewhere. So I get down on my hands and knees, pull out a flashlight, and start looking anywhere that it may have fallen, trying to find that missing piece. And after laboring for days or hours to put the puzzle together, if I cannot find that piece, if the picture is left incomplete, then I am proud of my achievement, but disappointed. There is an imperfection there. It is not what I set out to accomplish. But when I find that piece, there is such joy over that one piece that I did not have over each of the other pieces, even though I know that if any of them went missing, I would be as excited to find them as I am for finding the one that had been found. And then there are my sons. My babies are my treasures. The love I have for them is beyond anything else I've ever experienced. But when we are in a crowd, they can be maddening. Yesterday we went to Pittsburgh to their very large wastewater treatment facility for an open house. Now both boys were very interested in the many exhibits there. Ezekiel was particularly fascinated by the sewer televising truck and the green infrastructure demonstration exhibit. Malachi was more impressed by the cotton candy machine. Now, happily, both of my sons stuck out at this event, because they kept asking questions well beyond their years and using vocabulary that is quite advanced and technical in those questions. Because I kept getting caught up in conversations regarding the exhibits, and my boys would be right behind me or beside me, they would suddenly be gone. And no matter how many times I reiterated that this was not acceptable behavior, their curiosity would get the best of them and they would wander back to their favorite exhibits. Good thing is, because they were such memorable children, the different volunteers knew that we belonged together and would keep an eye out for me. But there were still those moments of panic and relief as my babies went missing and were found again. And I think any one of these examples is probably more relatable than those of first century Galilee in which today's gospel takes place. But also, they each convey the sense of relief that Jesus shows God is having when a sinner returns home. Now, in today's gospel, the tax collectors are presented as assumed sinners. In today's world, tax collectors are still looked down upon and resented by many. One need only look at Facebook or back to the 2010 plane crash into an IRS building to see that. But in the ancient Roman Empire, there was a particular resentment toward them because of the way the system incentivized their work. Each tax collector was assigned a territory and a levy, and their job was to meet that levy by whatever means and by whatever partitioning they felt appropriate. Anything in addition to the levy that the tax collector collected was their salary. Each tax collector needed to collect enough to pay the levy and enough to live off of in addition. But many were corrupt and would collect enough for a rather lavish livelihood. Corruption was common, but the tax collectors, by ensuring the levy was paid, kept the people safe from the Roman Empire. But even if a tax collector was honest and eking out a very modest living in this way, as any public servant knows, just being in that role entails a resentment because I pay your salary. Which leads me to a question. In Jesus's parable, who really is the lost sheep? I'm sure you have always assumed that it was the notorious sinners, the tax collectors, the prostitutes, all those people that the Pharisees and the scribes looked down upon. But Jesus has spent a lot of time in Luke's gospel in the chapters leading up to this point, talking about the wealthy and the powerful and the danger that the wealth and power present to their salvation. And immediately after today's gospel is the story of the prodigal son, in which both sons, in their own ways, become lost to their father. Because when we separate ourselves from one another, when we drive others away from God with our own biases and rules, we ourselves become lost. I think, in a way, Jesus is not talking simply about the joy that he and God feel in welcoming the sinners and the tax collectors back into the fold, if they ever left that fold, but also of welcoming back in those who have been too busy judging others to notice that they themselves have become lost. God is calling us all back, whether we identify with the Pharisees or the tax collectors. And God rejoices when we return with greater joy than we do when we find our phone or glasses, that missing puzzle piece, or even our precious children when they have wandered off. Amen.